Today is June 25th, and of course we have a fresh batch of Steam Summer Sale games. So I'm here as always to help you sift through the sea of games and deals and give you some recommendations from the front page and outside of it. So, let's begin with Terraria. I know, this game has been on sale approximately 5 billion times, but that's because it's a really good game. This is a slightly more focused Minecraft, but 2D. And it is more focused in that there's actual quests and stuff to do, stuff to unlock. You can attract more NPCs to your house with various items. There are various different types of area to explore. You know, going deeper underground will not only show you different areas, you can also find dungeons, that sort of thing. So if you like the sort of Minecraft buildy kind of game, this is definitely worth your time, especially at the cheap price of $3.49, which is 50% off. This game has been on sale so many times, I don't want to ramble too much on this one, so I'm going to move on to a fairly new release, which has got actually a pretty nice discount. It is Yooka-Laylee. This is of course the result of a Kickstarter done by the guys who used to be in Rare, who are now, of course, Playtonic, and is very much like those old mascot 3D platformers that we all loved on the PS1, like Crash Bandicoot and Croc and so on, and it is definitely in that realm of game. Definitely for those people who grew up playing those games and want to play a newer, modern one. It is obviously not that reduced, given that it only came out in April, but it's still a fairly nice reduction of 25%, making it £26.24. Now this has gotten some mixed reviews, but they have addressed numerous issues that plagued the game. I suggest you look through the recent patches and obviously recent gameplay to see if perhaps the issues that are resolved would convince you to buy the game. Also, there's a lot of complaints about the annoying voices in the game, a lot of complaints about the camera, that sort of thing. And obviously the camera is kind of part of a 3D platform. It's always going to be a bit awkward at the start of the game. But from everything I've seen, those things have been addressed and improved. And if you like your Banjo-Kazooie, this basically is a new one in all but name. Let's move on, however, to something quite different with Enter the Gungeon. This game is often mentioned in the same breath as The Binding of Isaac, but it is a very different game, although they have very similar gameplay mechanics in terms of, you know, it's a dungeon crawler. You're dodging bullets, you're getting loot, you're getting new guns, you're defeating bosses, it's, you know, permadeath, roguelike, that sort of thing. It is more fast-paced and more skill-based than The Binding of Isaac, and I say that as someone who's put over 100 hours into The Binding of Isaac. You know, I love Isaac, but its combat is very simplistic. Gungeon is much more based upon skill, you know, twitch reactions, dodging bullets, you know, getting your attacks in, dodging through bullets, as well as, you know, just moving out of the way. You can even flip tables to use them as cover. This game is not forgiving. It's not for the faint of heart. If you don't want a game that's going to absolutely kick your ass, then I would definitely suggest you avoid this one. But 50% off, £5.49 is definitely worth a go, and it's one of those games that you could get an absolute ton of enjoyment out of. Everything is gun themed, you know, even the enemies are shaped like various types of bullets. There are weird and wacky collection of guns. You know, there's a gun that shoots fish, that sort of thing. There's a giant laser. All sorts of weird, wonderful weapons are in this game, as well as a selection of very hard dungeons that are based upon your reaction times, which is why I am so absolutely terrible at this game. I love it, but I'm bad at it. Anyway, let's move on to our first franchise of the day, which is Watch Dogs. Now, the complete pack, which gives you Watch Dogs and a bunch of DLC, not Watch Dogs 2, unfortunately, is $11.99. That gives you, again, Watch Dogs and all of the DLC for it, basically for £11.99. But all in all, I think everyone agrees that Watch Dogs 2 is a much better game than the original for numerous reasons. You know, the actual character has character, for one thing. The gameplay is much improved. The world is much improved. It doesn't take itself so damn seriously. You know, we got numerous Gamers of the Year lists last year, and rightfully so. Unfortunately, given that this is a £45 release at full price, even at 50% off, it's still pretty damn expensive. £22.49. But if you're perhaps wanting to jump into this game but were shy to pay that much, I don't really blame you, by the way. this might be worth it, or it might be at least worth adding to your wishlist for the future, because that is a game definitely worth your time. The original Watch Dogs is $7.49 by itself, but to be honest, I was bitterly disappointed with Watch Dogs, so I would call that a solid avoid, even at that reduced price. Moving on to our second franchise, however, we have Dishonored. Yes, there's enough games in this series to have a franchise now. We have Dishonored Definitive Edition, which of course is the remaster that they did. It's £7.49 at 50% off, and Dishonored 2 is a fairly nice price as well, 50% off, making it £14.99. And we have Death of the Outsider here as well, but obviously that isn't reduced, given that it's not even out yet. It's out in September, so hardly shocking that's not being included here, but I thought it'd be remiss to not mention it. To be honest, I would 100% say that Dishonored 1 and 2 are both worth your time. I am not normally a fan of stealth games, but I love both of these games. They definitely give a lot of choice to the player in terms of how you deal with things, and while Dishonored 1 is a bit too black and white in how it deals with the two different endings and the chaos system, it is still worth a go and doesn't punish you too crazily for killing, but I would definitely say the low kill or low chaos method is the true ending. Dishonored 2 is a bit more flexible, a bit less black and white, and also gives you even more flexibility in terms of the abilities you have, and of course you have double the playtime, given that you can play as either Corvo from the first game or as Emily Caldwin. 100% would recommend both of those, and the price for either of these is definitely worth the asking price indeed. You're definitely going to get value for money for both of these, but speaking of value for money, we have GTA 5. Well, given the recent shenanigans with the Open 4 mod, which I did discuss, if you've somehow missed that, I would suggest you go watch my video from a few days ago. So it is currently sitting at overwhelmingly negative, but this is mostly done in protest over the really bizarre and head-scratching decision by Take-Two to hammer down on a mod that has been around for years. But, you know, GTA 5 doesn't really need much introduction. This is another game you're going to get absolutely hundreds of hours out of, even ignoring the multiplayer, which, to be honest, I would recommend that you do. Even in the single player, though, this has a ton of content here, and it is a fairly nice price, 50% off, making it £19.99. Yeah, unfortunately, the actual base price has not gone down at all, even though this game came out in 2015, but it's GTA 5. I'm not exactly shocked to see that. However, let's move swiftly on to our next entry, which is The Surge. Very much rightfully described as sci-fi Souls, but it does have more to it than just, hey, we're trying to be like Dark Souls but sci-fi. It doesn't quite capture the intricacies of Dark Souls' combat in many ways, but I still think this is worth a shot, and it's a big improvement on Deck 13's last entry, which was Lords of the Fallen. That was over, you know, resoundingly meh. But The Surge is definitely worth a go if you're after something that is like Dark Souls, but not Dark Souls. This is definitely worth a go. It is quite expensive though. It did only come out in May, so I'm hardly shocked, but it's still £30, 25% off, and of course the base price is full price, so hardly shocking that this one is still fairly expensive, so probably one to add to your wish list for later, but still a fairly nice reduction if you were tempted by this one previously. However, moving on to a game that tempts me every time it's on sale, which is The Forest. This is yet another survival game, but it definitely has horror elements. It's a survival horror simulator, which is why it tempts me, because I don't normally do survival games, but this one sounds like it has some horror elements which definitely intrigue me, and it's got a lot of good reviews. You know, it is in early access still, it is under heavy development. I'm personally waiting for the full release before I buy this, which is why I haven't, despite it being on sale pretty much every time there's a Steam sale. But it is 33% off, making it £7.36. From all I can see, in terms of videos, reviews, gameplay, that sort of thing, it does look pretty polished. Obviously, it is still being worked on. But if you're after something that is a bit more horror-y, not your strict, just pure survival experience, I would say The Forest is definitely worth at least a look-see. Moving on, however, to our last front page entry, which is Life is Strange. I don't think this one needs much of an introduction. It is quite rightfully renowned as being very, very, very good. And essentially it is Telltale games done better. Telltale kind of got this formula started, but this definitely improves upon their work. It is much better in terms of its actual gameplay and how it deals with the choices you make. And it's just generally a really, really good experience. If you know, the writing can be a bit cringy, especially in the first episode, but if you can push through the hellers, it's definitely worth a look-see. But just bring the tissues is all I'm going to say. The full collection, 1 to 5 episodes, is an absolute steal at $3.99. Episode 1 is actually free. There's a bit of a bug at the moment. It's showing as $3.99 even though it isn't. The first episode is free, so if you want to give it a try and see if the game is for you, then you know you could do so at no cost to yourself. But if perhaps like me you already have the first episode, you want to get the rest, $3.99 is an absolute steal for this game. But let's finish up, shall we, with some non-front page entries. Firstly, we have FTL, Faster Than Light, which is a roguelite, but it's very different to a lot of roguelites. You are basically playing as the Federation ship. You go through space, you collect crew, you upgrade your ship, and you're trying to outrun the dastardly rebel forces and get back to base with some very critical data for the fight against the rebellion. It is a pretty difficult game, but it is also really, really fun. It is definitely for the people who, you know, dreamed of being, you know, on the helm of the Starship Enterprise or on the Battleship Galactica. I always name my ship Galactica because things go wrong enough for it to be an episode of Battlestar Galactica, so, you know, it fits. But regardless, you know, you can do things like, oh, divert power to shields, or vent the area of the ship to suffocate the enemies that just boarded us. Oh, our ship got destroyed, guess we're starting again. It is one of the better roguelites. Normally I'm not overly keen on them unless they have short runs like Isaac, because, well, you know, losing all your progress, you know, it just feels very frustrating. But this game is really enjoyable, and you unlock new ships, new weapons and stuff as you go, which obviously improves your chances in your future runs. This is definitely worth a look-see, 100% worth the asking price, which is basically free at 75% off, making it £1.74. However, we're going to finish up with the charming Stardew Valley, which is basically Harvest Moon, but better. That's the best way to describe it. It has a lot more to offer in terms of its gameplay variety than Harvest Moon, but it has taken everyone by storm, and rightfully so. Not really my type of thing, but I can see it's full of charm, and if you wanted a new Harvest Moon game, this is essentially what this is. It's 40% off, making it £6.59, so an absolute definite value for money proposition there, given how many hundreds of hours you could probably put into this game and not feel satisfied. So there you have it, the offerings for today's front page, June 25th. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.